Two countries close in proximity, not so close in policy. Now that could all be changing. A big story just 90 miles off the coast, and we're seeing a lot of reaction here in South Florida. In Havana, many people were excited and joyful after hearing President Raul Castro's speech on live TV in Cuba. And this, of course, has been a country that's been frozen in time in many ways for about 50 years now. Many setbacks and not a lot of technology. Now, President Obama announces he will move to end the Cold War policy with Cuba. But a number of people in Miami's Little Havana neighborhood were shocked, many of them outraged. So many people living in that neighborhood and all over South Florida have suffered terrible tragedies at the very hands of the Castro regime. Now they say they feel betrayed. In fact, one man held a sign at the Versailles restaurant, a common meeting place of Cuban-American protest, that said American government policy is never to negotiate with terrorists or terrorist countries. That was on his sign there. And that sentiment partially shared with Miami Mayor Tomas Regalado. He says he's still very concerned.
It's still a terrorist nation by the State Department standard. But I think that the most important thing is that you expect that you get something in return for all the things that the United States is trying to do in Cuba.
The controversial U.S.-Cuba relationship also thrusting Florida politicians into the national spotlight. Senator Marco Rubio is the son of Cuban exiles himself. He says thawing out this Cold War stance with Cuba is a bad deal for Americans and could even put them in danger.
Because I think it does set a very dangerous precedent. It puts a price on every American abroad.
Now, he's referring to hostage negotiations, which of course is also a big problem in the war with ISIS. A lot of these things may not seem like they pertain to Florida directly, but they could be a big deal very soon. Of course, the Islamic State has made a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, holding hostages for ransom. And now it looks like this part of foreign policy, how to deal with terrorists, will be one of the biggest points of debate in the coming presidential election. Of course, we just learned that former Florida Governor Jeb Bush will officially explore a run for the White House. And Senator Rubio, also one person who has been a White House hopeful, he says Bush's announcement will not affect his decision to run for the Republican nomination. Elsewhere, more big news on the state level. We heard a lot about it in the gubernatorial debates. Now it's starting to heat up. The school district in Palm Beach County opens the gateway for legal action against charter schools. It was a unanimous vote, actually. They're going after the charter school of Boynton Beach first. That's the same school that was forced to shut down back in July after they failed the state's accountability report 2 years in a row. A lot of families upset about this. Depending on how many students are enrolled in different charter schools, they get an allotted amount of money from the state, the taxpayer funding. But school district officials say that Boynton Beach waited to shut down until after they cashed the check from July. And that came from the state. Now, they want that money back. And when the state shut down the school, it left over 700 low-income students without a classroom and looking for a new school. Of course, this was a very rare case, this new lawsuit we're seeing. We don't often see school districts going to court against a school. Usually they're an allied front. But now, with so many other charter schools around the state facing similar threats, we could start to see this happen a lot more. A judge in court. That sounds normal, right? Wrong. Not this time, anyways. She traded in her gavel for handcuffs. The judge sitting on the wrong side of the bench after she got pulled over and arrested for drunk driving. When the officer pulled her over and asked to see her driver's license, she flashed her badge instead, saying, "I'm Judge Cynthia Imperato." That, according to police statements. Now she's facing a trial herself. Boca Raton officer Douglas Imler was actually off duty last month when he noticed a Mercedes-Benz driving all over the road. So he pulled the car over, even though he was off duty. And while Imperato refused to take a breathalyzer after several requests, police say that she reeked of alcohol and had bloodshot, glassy eyes. Now, after her arrest, she was forced to leave her post where she was overseeing criminal felony court and move over to the civil court and handle foreclosures instead. Now, if she is convicted of this DUI, she could face up to 9 months in jail, and the reckless driving charge could add an additional 90 days behind bars. Well, as we get closer to the holidays, if you're anything like me, you start paying a lot closer attention to food. And in Palm Beach County especially, the food is coming to you, and healthy food while you're at it. You might have seen it driving around town. It's called Nutrition Driven, a mobile food bank hauling around fresh fruit, produce, healthy food options. They're calling it a food warehouse on wheels. And you can thank the Kathleen McFarland Foundation. They paid $125,000 just to get the truck on the road. Now, you might already know Palm Beach County leads the whole nation when it comes to producing vegetables like sweet corn, sweet bell peppers, things like this. Well, now that nutrition-driven truck will redistribute a lot of those very same produce items to the people in the neighborhood that need the food the most. And to get this done, the food bank is teaming up with the Institute of Food and Agriculture Science at the University of Florida. Together, they're coming together with healthy eating classes to help provide education along with that good food, helping people to do more creative cooking.